Woo! Man, I got to tell you, that was close. I thought we were going to get through a season without hearing anything stupid out of Sheryl Swoopes' mouth and anything that sounds rather interesting, something that you might choose to give some side-eye to.
The Indiana Fever just flipped the WNBA script with a plot twist no one saw coming. In one bold move, they cut not one, but two high-profile rookies, sending shockwaves through the entire league. As fans scrambled to make sense of the chaos, out stepped Sheryl Swoopes, long seen as the president of the anti-Caitlin Clark Club, emerging like it was her own personal comeback tour. But this time, it wasn't just Clark in her crosshairs. It was the entire Fever franchise.
You have a black player that just got cut, and Sheryl Swoopes is not happy about that.
What started as a routine roster shakeup exploded into full-blown WNBA drama, packed with tension and the kind of headlines that write themselves. Just when we thought Sheryl Swoopes had vanished into the shadows, she pops back up like clockwork, ready to stir the pot. So what did she have to say this time? And how is the Indiana Fever responding to all the noise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's your take on Swoopes? Let's get into it.
Call me nuts, but unfortunately for the old WNBA fandom and media, in her case, media and old players, unfortunately, in some cases, you do feel like there is something else lurking behind said opinions that may not be basketball related. Let's put it that way.
Let's start with the cuts that lit up the headlines. The Indiana Fever just made one of the boldest preseason moves in recent memory. Bree Hall. Yes, that Bree Hall, the dynamic guard and two-time national champion from South Carolina, was shown the door before she even had a real chance to shine. Not a single second of action in the opener against Washington, barely any run against Brazil, and then gone. Just like that. And if that felt like a gut punch to fans, buckle up, because the Fever weren't finished.
All is now gone, as you know. And today it was announced that Yvonne Ejim has been waived by the Fever as well. Sophie Cunningham talked about that yesterday, saying you can latch on to another team, another place.
Just because you didn't make a roster doesn't mean you're out of the W.
Just 24 hours later, the hits kept coming. The Fever announced the release of Yvonne Ejim, the scoring leader from Gonzaga, a player with enough heart to power the entire Pacific Northwest. Two rookies, both with standout college resumes and real potential, were cut before they could even unpack their bags. Barely enough time to break a sweat, gone. Just like that. It's the brutal reality of pro sports on full display. Because at this level, it's not just about talent. It's about timing, fit, and cold, hard roster math. This is where dreams collide with the business side of basketball.
Indiana Fever, as expected, have waived Yvonne Ejim. She's just not at the level that the Indiana Fever are hoping her to be at.
The Fever announced it directly. Thank you, Yvonne Ejim, who was the all-time leading scorer and Gonzaga hit.
The natural question is, why these two? Why Bree Hall and Yvonne Ejim? To understand the sting, you've got to look at the Fever's salary cap situation. It all starts with the hefty contract of Katie Lou Samuelson, a deal so bloated, the Fever had to buy it out just to make room for key veteran signings. That move left the team with the cap space to carry only 11 players on the roster. Now here's where the math gets cruel. Veterans like Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sydney Colson, Brianna Turner, Sophie Cunningham, Darius Dantas, and the newly re-signed Kelsey Mitchell all have at least 1 year of guaranteed money. Translation? Cut them, and the Fever still have to pay. That left only one category of players the Fever could cut without eating salary. Rookies still on their original contracts, specifically Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Lexi Hall. And let's be real, no one's cutting those 3.so just like that. 10 out of 11 roster spots were locked. Hall and Ejim never stood a real chance. It wasn't about talent. It was about timing, finances, and the ruthless calculus of pro basket.
And it's hard, right? We all reached out. I think that they brought really good people in, great people into training camp this year. But just because you didn't make this spot, this is probably one of the harder rosters to make in the W this year. It doesn't mean you're out of the W, and you just got to keep ready, keep playing, keep grinding it out. And if it's hard to make the league. I know Sid and I, we were second rounders. We stuck. Her experience is a little bit different than mine, but just because you didn't make a roster doesn't mean you're out of the W.
In reality, all three rookies, including Michaela Timpson, who's been turning heads with flashes of brilliance in training camp and preseason, were battling for just one roster spot. And right now, all signs point to that spot going to Timpson. The Fever need depth at forward, and she brings exactly what they're missing: the ability to run the floor, anchor the defense, and bring energy on both ends. Fans are already calling her the steal of the draft, taken 19th overall when many had her projected as a top 10 talent. With everything on the line, Timpson didn't just survive. She may have earned her moment.
Well, Timpson is obviously at a certain level. She's a rim runner. She just obviously has a higher ceiling than Ejim at the moment. And this is maybe a hot...
For fans of Hall and Ejim, this one hits different. This wasn't just about stats or a box score. It was the cold, hard clash of salary caps, limited roster spots, and the ruthless chase for a championship window. These cuts sting because they weren't just about talent. They were about hope. And just like that, 2 dreams were put on pause.
After all, we saw Sheryl Swoopes in rare form, hating on Caitlin Clark all last year. Well, maybe she has figured out, well, hating on Clark, I've been told that's not really a great idea, yada, yada, yada. So what other white girls can I tune up from the Indiana Fever?
Naturally, the backlash came fast, and leading the charge, megaphone in hand, was none other than Sheryl Swoopes. The moment Bree Hall's cut hit the newswire, Swoopes lit up like she'd been waiting all offseason for this exact moment. And make no mistake, her return wasn't subtle. It was a full-blown verbal body slam.
Example, the Washington Mystics Indiana Fever game. Because I know on social media, people were like, well, why aren't the starters in for the Mystics? They could win this game. And I was there, right? Because preseason is about, yes, you're going to play your starters, you're going to play your players. Typically, they don't even play that many minutes, right? Because you have so many players on your roster that you got to make roster cuts. So you're still trying to figure out who can fit what we're doing.
On the latest episode of the Women's Hoop Show, Swoopes didn't just voice concern. She launched a one-woman verbal offensive, with her primary target being head coach Stephanie White. According to Swoopes, White didn't just mishandle the rotations, she practically sabotaged them. Her question: why was Bree Hall kept on the bench while others with less upside were getting priority minutes?
Did have a question, though, with Indiana, right? Because even though the starters weren't in, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall they've been in the league for a while. You actually had players who, like Bree Hall, why wasn't she in that game per se? If you're still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who you're going to cut. So I was a little confused with what Steph was doing.
If you're still figuring out who to cut, why wasn't Bree Hall even playing? Swoopes demanded. And if that wasn't pointed enough, the subtext was louder still. This wasn't just about basketball IQ. It was about who gets the benefit of the doubt, who's allowed to prove themselves, and who gets sidelined before they even have a chance to step onto the stage. And if you thought Swoopes was done, think again. She turned up the heat even higher, taking aim at the 2 players who did benefit from White's game plan: Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall. With surgical precision, Swoopes questioned their presence on the court, framing her critique in a way that left no room for doubt. The implications? Loud enough to echo through every WNBA Twitter space.
Okay. This is going to be a spicy season, because Kiki was like, what, Sophie? Girl, don't come over here. Sophie was like,
already,
I was
game
here
one.
Here for it. But the fact that's a rookie, right?
I know.
Kiki,
she did not back down.
But she just turned and laughed. She was like, what? What did you say? What are we doing?
Then came the comment that all but confirmed Swoopes' angle. With a healthy dose of sarcasm, she quipped that maybe she should focus on tuning up the other white girls on the Fever now that she'd been told to leave Caitlin Clark alone. That wasn't subtle. That wasn't shade. It was a full spotlight and a narrative bomb dropped right in the middle of the room.
My goodness. I mean, we've had 2 preseason games. 2! And we're back to it. We're back here. She's criticizing Stephanie White. I bet Sheryl Swoopes hates that last name. Criticizing Stephanie White. And of course, it relates to Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham. Ooh, I bet Sheryl Swoopes hates her some Sophie Cunningham. You know she does.
Let's not forget, this isn't Swoopes' first anti-Clark rodeo. She was one of the earliest voices to question Caitlin Clark's records. Her style, her swagger, her age, her leadership, pretty much everything short of her shoe size. And now that Clark has the full backing of the Indiana Fever and fans from across the globe, Swoopes isn't just focused on Clark anymore. She's got eyes on the whole perimeter. Cunningham, Hall, anyone who dares to link arms with Clark in building this new WNBA powerhouse.